Hey everyone, welcome to The Explainer. If you're looking to get a really clear, focused understanding of the absolute whiplash that just hit the tech world this week, well, you are in exactly the right place. Our source material today takes us on a wild, almost unbelievable jump. We're going to navigate everything from high-stakes international security and massive government intervention, all the way down to some, honestly, pretty bizarre consumer tech. So let's get right into it.
And we are kicking things off with a massive hook. For the first time in history, the United States government stepped in and forced a publicly released commercial AI model entirely off the market. I'm not kidding. Anthropic had to abruptly shut down access to their highly anticipated Mythos 5 and Fable 5 models for literally every single user on Earth.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here's our roadmap for the day. First, the Anthropic shutdown drama. 2. Open source catching up fast. 3. Midjourney's wild medical pivot. 4. Some rapid-fire AI updates. 5. AI skepticism versus adoption. And 6. The self-driving toilet. Section 1. The Anthropic shutdown drama. Security, hubris, and government intervention.
So the administration basically demanded that Anthropic suspend access to foreign nationals over a security vulnerability, which effectively caused a total shutdown. But to really understand how we got here, we've got to look at the timeline. Back in April, Anthropic's CEO, Dario Amodei, restricted these models. He was publicly citing that they could wreak havoc, literally likening the tech to a nuclear bomb. Then, in early June, he publishes this essay demanding strict FAA-style regulation for AI, where the government could step in and block a release if it threatened public safety. But here is the crazy twist. Just shortly after, Amazon CEO, Andy Jassy, who by the way is a major investor in Anthropic, actually found a jailbreak and whistleblew to the government. When the government asked Anthropic to fix it or just pause access, Anthropic kind of brushed it off as a minor issue. So late June, the government did exactly what Amodei's essay suggested they should do. They forced a shutdown.
And this brings up a really great point, perfectly captured in this quote from David Sachs. It's frankly bewildering that Anthropic hasn't wanted to comply with safety requests that it previously said were its highest priority. There's this massive disconnect, right, between Anthropic's very public principles about existential safety and how they actually responded when a real, albeit minor, vulnerability was found. Ultimately, the U.S. government deemed Anthropic a supply chain risk. Impartially speaking, no matter who is actually right about the severity of that code flaw, this sets an incredibly scary precedent for AI investors. The fact that a near-trillion-dollar company can have its core products shut off by the government overnight, that changes the entire landscape.
Let's move to Section 2 and see how this builds. Open source catching up fast. Enter GLM 5.2.
Because while the proprietary giants are getting tangled up in government red tape, the open source community is absolutely capitalizing on the momentum. Enter Xeonai's GLM 5.2. This is a 753 billion parameter MIT-licensed open-weight model, and it features a massive 1 million token context window. But what's truly staggering here is that on benchmarks like Swebench Pro and Agent Arena, this open-source challenger is actually beating models like GPT 5.5. It is going toe-to-toe with Claude Opus 4.8. It really proves that open source is rapidly catching up to the frontier labs, offering incredible capabilities without all those lockdown restrictions.
And you've got to see the sheer economics here. They are staggering. GLM 5.2 is delivering state-of-the-art coding and slide generation capabilities for a total fraction of the cost. I mean, look at this. You're paying $1.40 for input and $4.40 for output per million tokens. Compare that to the $10 and $50 charged by Claude Fable. It is an absolute game changer for developers who want top-tier performance on a budget.
All right, Section 3. Midjourney's wild medical pivot, from generative art to healthcare.
Okay, taking a hard left turn into something literally nobody saw coming. Midjourney, yes, the AI generative art company, has just announced a completely unpredicted pivot. They are bootstrapping an entirely new hardware branch called Midjourney Medical, with zero outside investors. And it basically looks like a futuristic dunk tank. You get lowered into water, and nearly 9,000 transducers bounce ultrasound waves all around to map out 25 different biological structures in your body. Now, Midjourney's CEO, David Holtz, actually has a deep background in hardware sensors, which kind of explains this wild move. They're claiming this will work at a fraction of the time and cost of an MRI. Their ultimate ambition? To democratize health scanning by opening a Midjourney spa in San Francisco by 2027, where you can just get scanned while lounging in a sauna.
However, we definitely have to look at the scientific nuance here, which was perfectly outlined by Hank Green's critique. While the whole dunk tank tech is undeniably cool, it relies on sound waves. Ultrasound is fantastic for soft tissues, fluids, and close-to-surface issues.
But sound waves do not pass smoothly through air. That means it cannot effectively look through air-filled lungs, nor can it handle moving parts the way an MRI or CT scan can for things like colon screening. So while it's a fascinating innovation for preventative care, it just cannot fully replace traditional medical imaging. Moving right along to Section 4, Rapid-Fire AI Updates, Drinking from the Fire Hose.
Because the AI industry moves at breakneck speed, we're going to pick up the pace and rapid fire through the biggest software updates that hit the market this week. Ready? OpenAI Codex introduced Record and Replay. It literally watches you perform a task on your screen, like uploading a video, and then perfectly automates it for you in the future. Next, Claude Design now allows in-canvas editing and deep integrations with the broader ecosystem, like Canva. Over at Perplexity, they launched Computer Brand for Mac and Enterprise. It's a self-improving memory system that watches your workflows and learns from its own mistakes overnight. Adobe is bringing prompt-based generation directly into Premiere, Illustrator, and InDesign. And finally, Google launched Ask Ad Manager, an optimization chatbot built right inside their ad platform. The big overarching theme here? AI workflows are becoming increasingly autonomous.
So, the crucial point is, how is all this actually landing with people? Section 5, AI skepticism versus adoption, the Pew Research divide. With tech moving this fast, let's look at everyday Americans. We are witnessing massive mainstream adoption. According to the survey data, half of all U.S. adults now report actively using AI chatbots. That is a huge leap from just 33% earlier in the year. AI is definitely no longer a niche tool just for tech enthusiasts. It is firmly in the mainstream. But when you break down that usage, one thing becomes crystal clear. Despite all the hype and all the drama surrounding Claude, Gemini, and the others, ChatGPT still utterly dominates the mindshare. 44% of Americans cite it as their absolute go-to. For the general public, ChatGPT has essentially become the Kleenex or the Band-Aid of AI. But here is the paradox we really need to unpack. We are living in a dual reality right now. The data shows that people are using AI more than ever for their own personal productivity, yet, at the exact same time, a growing majority are deeply skeptical that AI will have a positive impact on society as a whole. And honestly, that makes perfect sense. It is completely logical to love how ChatGPT writes your emails or helps you code for work, while simultaneously hating the flood of AI-generated slop videos on YouTube or hyper-realistic fake news images on your social feeds. You can absolutely hold both of those opposing truths at once. Section 6. The Self-Driving Toilet, Xiaoban's Bizarre Innovation. Okay, after all that heavy talk about government shutdowns and societal skepticism, we really need a palate cleanser to end the week. And this brilliantly illustrates the bizarre extremes of modern robotics. Let me introduce you to the Xiaoban self-driving toilet. Here is how this thing works. Step 1, the toilet sits on a charging dock and can actually be summoned directly to your bedside. Step 2, you do your business, taking full advantage of the built-in bidet features. Step 3, the robot literally drives itself out of your bedroom, navigates to your main bathroom, and uses a mechanism to dump the waste directly into your standard toilet. Step 4, it self-scrubs, sanitizes, drives back to its dock, and refills its water tank. I mean, wow. While this is undeniably a fantastic, life-changing innovation for people with mobility issues, let's be real. There's a market of incredibly lazy rich people who are absolutely going to buy this too.
Which brings us to our final thought. If we can experience this level of whiplash in just a single week, jumping from the US government restricting AI models they deemed a nuclear threat, all the way to deploying self-driving toilets, I want you to really think about this question. How drastically will your personal daily workflow change by this time next year? The fire hose of technology isn't slowing down. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll see you next time as we continue to make sense of it all.